Thank you, Zach, and thank you, Lisa Glenn, and my other friends here. Delighted to be with all of you this afternoon. It's a real privilege. Uh, I was really moved, like all of you were, by the presentation right before lunch, and also Zach's comments. And my story is actually similar. I was born in a refugee camp of Holocaust survivors in 1946. And the opportunities created for me when I came to the United States as an immigrant, 5 years old, have brought me here today. So these stories are part of the American dream, and I'm very pleased to be here today to talk a little bit about the future. All right, there. What I do is help organizations think about the future, and you will not be surprised that artificial intelligence is a very big subject. We are going through a really profound discontinuity, and the implications and the anxieties about the future are very much with us, including particularly around this question of work, right? Are the AIs going to put everybody, including all of you, out of work tomorrow? And I can't tell you how often I get the question, is this the end of humanity? Is this the end of jobs? Are we all going to be eliminated, et cetera? Well, I have to tell you, I am very optimistic about the future, and I'm very optimistic about the impact of AI on the future. Now, this is our legal statement. I come from a company. You all will read this carefully. Do not buy any of our software based on what I tell you today. Okay, that's it. All right. As I mentioned, we have a small team of about 7 people who think about the future. Our job is to help our customers and our leaders think creatively about what may lie ahead. And creativity is very important to try and imagine the future, right? We know the future is going to be different. And so I've been doing this for a long time, we are in the process of thinking about how to anticipate what's coming, to try to imagine what lies out there, and then actually do something about it. Our motto is anticipate, imagine, shape. And I invite you to do the same. Try to think about the forces shaping the future. Imagine, let your imaginations go, and then try to shape that future for a better future. Now, some of you may have seen this film.
A road diverges in the desert. Lexus. The road you're on, John Anderton, is the one less traveled. Make sure you are
Good evening. You can move the old-fashioned John Anderton. 21 stands provides gourmet cuisine. John Anderton. You could use a Guinness right about now. Stressed out, John Anderton.
Escape from it all, Harrison. Get away, John Anderton. Forget your troubles. What's slow, John Anderton?
Hello, Mr. Yakamoto. Welcome back to the Gap. How those assorted tank tops work out for you?
So anybody recognize that film? What was it? Exactly. So back in 1999, Steven Spielberg came to me and with a short story written by Philip K. Dick called Minority Report, but there was no world in it. And he said, I want to make the most realistic film about the future anybody's ever made. Help me create that world. And so I brought together a team of people to try to imagine that future with the goal of helping to shape it, to inspire, to move people. And today we live very much in the world that we described almost 30 years ago in the film Minority Report. Now, for those of you who are a little bit older, you will also remember one of my earlier films called War Games with Matthew Broderick. It was his first film, and Matthew actually played me. I was an early hacker. I hacked a BBN computer and found the guidance programs for the ICBMs, and that became the basis for the film War Games. I say this because it is possible to imagine. It is possible to actually do something about the future. And that's really my central theme today, is trying to imagine and do something about the future. There we go. Now, at Salesforce, not surprisingly, we also think about the impact of AI. So I want to show you a short little video we did, our version, if you will, of Minority Report. Because when Spielberg and I wrote that script, he said, look, I want this script to be of such a nature that people a decade or so from now will say that's just like in Minority Report. So this is our version at Salesforce now of, as it were, our Minority Report.
Jordan?
Yes, Einstein.
I hate to kill your chill, but there's something that requires your attention. Hold on, incoming from Della.
Don't forget we have dinner at 5, Mom. Einstein, what's up?
We're experiencing an increase in demand again. It's related to our old pal.
Here we go again.
His VR premiere is going even better than anticipated. I must say that product placement was an excellent idea.
Go on.
Cowboys vs. AI is getting rave reviews. They're adding 10 more cities in Europe.
That guy just doesn't age.
I know. We expect a 50% jump in weekly European sales. I suggest evaluating the entire supply chain for options to meet this demand.
We need to get our partners around the company looped in.
Sure thing. Connecting sourcing and logistics with marketing, sales, operations, and legal. And based on my values configuration, sustainability.
Marketing AI, show me projections about our viral demand spike.
I project the biggest supply constraints will occur in Europe.
Can we see based on real-time geolocation?
Sure thing. You might consider redirecting supply based on seasonal demand.
If we also revise our marketing plan to promote subscriptions, you should be able to handle the spike.
Solid idea. Now we just need a campaign partner to execute it. Marketing AI, do your thing.
Done. I'm identifying trusted partners and creating a brief for your approval.
Let's talk logistics, shall we? If we use wind shipping along specific routes, we can still hit our carbon targets. Great for sustainability, but unless we lock in rates today, prices will go way up. No bueno. So, do we have your approval to proceed?
Let's go for it, Einstein.
On it. We'll let you know when all our global partners are aligned.
Can you believe that?
That's amazing.
Jordan,
Yes, Einstein.
all partners have committed. Do you need anything else?
Take the night off, Einstein.
So that gave you a little glimpse of what happens when we have multiple AIs interacting with people, interacting with each other, and creating new capabilities. And I'm going to talk to you about how we get to that world, what is actually beginning to happen, because it is going to transform the nature of work. It isn't going to eliminate jobs. It's going to transform what we do and how we do it. And so we think about what are the products of the future? What are people actually doing at work? What are they making? What services are they providing? How does it affect the individual? Does it transform their productivity? How does it work with teams? Do teams now work better and more capably with the technology? What does it do with learning? And that's particularly important, and I'll spend a few minutes on that in a few minutes. And then finally, how does it affect the question of where people work? The office, home, around the world, and being interconnected. All of these dimensions are being affected by AI. Now, this is our head of artificial intelligence, Silvio Savarese. And Silvio is the guy really behind our AI. And what he's now talking about is the world as we move from what are called large language models, is what we've all been using, to large action models. That is autonomous agents that actually do something when you want them to do it. Today, you can get your AI to help find what's the next flight from Austin to San Francisco, but it can't make the reservation for you. When you get to the autonomous agents, it will do that for you. It'll say, hey, Einstein, I need a flight this afternoon, sometime after 2, just go ahead and make the reservation for me. And it will do that. And that's the next stage that we are moving to right now, from essentially the assistant to the autonomous agent. Now, in going from assistants to networks of agents, today what we're able to do is everyone will have a digital assistant. How many of you have an executive assistant? Yeah, these are high-level guys. All the rest of you have to work. See, no, it's true. What does an executive assistant do? It takes the friction out of life. So you don't have to handle all the daily hassles, expense reports, travel, all of those kinds of things. And that's where we are today. We are in this world of an executive assistant powered by large language models. And you say things to it, it is static. It's one agent with one set of skills, say travel, for example. However, where we're moving to the next 18 months to 2 years is a network of agents. Think of your digital assistant as a chief of staff, orchestrating the activities of a number of agents. that, for example, organizes an entire itinerary, finds you the hotel, arranges the cars, finds you the dinner arrangements, lets your friends know where you're going to be, lets you know who else might be in town, and organize it. Look, I work for a great CEO. He has a small team of people that organize his life, right? So he doesn't have to think about it. Well, that's where we're headed for all of you. You're going to have a small team of digital agents that are going to organize your life. And so, by the way, will everyone. The people you serve at both ends, the people who are providing educational opportunities and the customers who need them. Both of these will be operating with a network of digital agents that today are just nascent in terms of what they can do. And so what this means is that the agents can now begin to interact. They're an orchestrator of activity. And critically, and this is really important, and because we've already heard a number of issues around the question of trust. Can you trust it to do the right thing? One of the things about large language models is they want to give you an answer. And if they don't know the answer, they make it up. That's how we get hallucinations. Now, the truth is that that's also part of the creativity of large language models. As we move to the next generation, we're going to see in the large action models the ability to test against reality to avoid the problem of hallucinations. And so your agent, your digital agent, will now orchestrate the activities of a multiple set of agents carrying out tasks for you that you want to be able to fulfill. Now, for me, one of the most important things that is happening here is in the world of learning. And that is that one thing that we have learned is that a student who has a personal tutor performs much, much better. And so we see in the results that the steep curve on the right is, in fact, what happens when you get private tutoring. Now, the truth is, I suspect everybody in this room was in the upper half of your class. But the lower half of the class still struggles, particularly as the world has become more sophisticated, more complex, more technological. If you don't know how to navigate that technology, you can't file your taxes. You can't get it on an airplane. You can't make a dinner reservation, right? So you think about the challenges is that person in the lower half of your class who doesn't understand half of how that all works is stuck. So now those students will have a personal tutor, first in school, and then throughout life. And by the way, so will you. Because, of course, we now all need to learn. My wife and I study Italian using Duolingo. Duolingo has gotten better over time as AI has been added to it, right? And it's fun. It's capable. It's our personal Italian tutor, right? That's how it actually works. Now, this is not a distant dream. You all know of Khan Academy. Well, Khan has now gone the next step. It has created something called Khanmigo, which is now operating in the Newark, New Jersey schools in a large-scale experiment with 35,000 students to prove that this curve is right. So we're headed toward the world that we all heard about in Lake Wobegon, where all the students are above average, right? We're going to lift that bottom up. And the implications for society, I think, are quite profound, for learning, for lifelong learning and learning in the schools. For me, this is one of the biggest implications of AI, is the ability to have learning adapt to every single student. How will it affect work? Well, there's a number of different theories. One is we all have executive assistants that makes everyone more productive, right? Taking the friction out of life so you don't have to think about it. Now, at the top of the scale, does it actually make the best workers more productive? Maybe, because they learn how to use those capabilities in unique ways, because you actually have to learn how to use the AIs. They can help you learn, but then you have to learn back again. Maybe it levels things. Maybe the bottom now catches up with the upper half, and you end up with just a leveling of capabilities. That might happen. And then finally, there may be people in the organization who really become masters of it, AI whisperers, if you will. One of the things we know with AIs, you have to prompt them. You have to give them a request. Give me a picture. Give me a quote. Give me a piece of information. And if you really learn how to use them extremely well, those may be the kinds of people. So we can see a variety of different kinds of effects, the way in which AI might affect different kinds of workers differently. Now, what does it actually do to jobs? Well, first of all, let's talk about the number of jobs and what's likely to happen. How many telephone operators are in the room? Oh, no, none of you, huh? Okay. Typists, bank typists, insurance company typists? No, okay. If we were here in 1950, frankly, most of you women, and that's what it was in those days, women's work would be things like being a typist, right? Banks had a room full of typists in the back that actually gave out bank statements. That's how you got a bank statement. Women were operators, right? They weren't executives like this. They weren't running organizations like you all do. This was the world of women's work in the 1950s. And in 1950, we had about 160 million people in America, of which 100 million people were working. Today, we have about 350 million people, about 250 million workers. Any telephone operators and typists among them? No. But we added over 100 million jobs, none of which existed in 1950, all of your jobs did not exist in 1950. And that's what has been remarkable. We have had a huge wave of job creation, much of it enabled by new technology. And that is the reality. So when we think about the future of jobs, we have to decompose them. There are things that really only humans can do, and there are things that can be done by machines. Most of those things that are high friction tasks, coordination tasks and the like, are better done by machines that can operate real time and very quickly. So we want to decompose those jobs and look at those things that are best done by machines and those things that human beings do. And what we have found historically is that there was much greater demand for those things that human beings do and organize themselves. And then it actually led to whole new classes of jobs, tasks that didn't even exist in the past. That required reskilling. That required transition strategies to move from one set of skills and classes of jobs to a new set, and in many instances, entirely new business model. Cloud computing, what we do, did not exist in 1990. It did in 2000 because it was innovative, inventing, and created a whole new class of industries built on cloud and jobs that simply did not exist 10 years before. And so we are in the business now of creating many more jobs of new kinds, requiring new skills and requiring a transition from the old world to the new world. But I'm extremely optimistic about the question of whether we're going to have enough jobs. The real question is what you all do. Will we have the right people for those jobs? That's the question, not whether the jobs will be there. So let's explore for a minute, what if? What could actually happen? How could all of this actually play out? So, for example, what if everyone actually had a digital personal assistant, organizing your life, waking you up in the morning, telling you what your agenda is, making sure you have the right documents when you get to work, making sure that your schedule adapts to the real world of life as you see it? Now, I think this is where we're headed. And there was a very brilliant short film that actually, I think, captured what this was like, might be like.
Mr. Theodore Twombly, welcome to the world's first artificially intelligent operating system, OS1. We'd like to ask you a few basic questions before the operating system is initiated. This will help create an OS to best fit your needs.
Okay.
Are you social or antisocial?
I guess I haven't really been social in a while, mostly because...
In your voice, I sense hesitance. Would you agree with that?
Was I sounding hesitant?
Yes.
No, sorry if I was sounding hesitant. I was just trying to be more accurate.
Would you like your OS to have a male or female voice?
Female, I guess.
How would you describe your relationship with your mother?
That was fine, I think. Well, actually, I think the thing I always found frustrating about my mom is, you know, if I tell her something that's going on in my life, her reaction is usually about her. It's not about...
Thank you. Please wait as your individualized operating system is initiated.
Hello, I'm here.
So not all of them will have the voice of Scarlett Johansson. But the truth is, I think this is actually a fairly realistic moment, right? Where essentially everyone will be able to have that digital assistant. And if ever you've seen it, the film is called Her. I highly recommend it. It's the most realistic vision of how AI will actually work in society. This, of course, given her voice, he falls hopelessly in love. It's ridiculous. But, you know, who knows? It's hard to say. Maybe, you know, that AI becomes your good buddy. It's not at all implausible. So this is a vision that I think is not implausible. It's what I actually think is pretty close to what's coming only a few years down the pike. Now, I'm in the software business. And one of the things that we've learned is one of the early things that AIs are very good at is coding. So, in fact, we have AI coding software that our coders now use. And we've already been at it now not quite a year, and we've seen something rather dramatic. In the first 6 months, we saw a 35% improvement in productivity of our coders. In the next 6 months, we saw another 50% as they learned more about how to use it and as the software itself improved. So what we have seen is an enormous increase in the productivity of our coders. Now, coding is a very well-defined task and so on, but if anybody's ever done it, you know it involves both a lot of systematic thinking and a lot of creativity as well. The best coders are best at both. They're very rigorous analysts, and they're also very creative. So the question is, how do you make them much more productive? And what you're doing is taking away the routine tasks of building an architecture and even beginning to suggest some of the creative dimensions of new ways of writing software. So we're investing heavily in this, you won't be surprised, and what we're seeing is enormous gains already. So it's one of the first places where we've been able to measure the productivity created by AIs. Imagine upskilling, right? Training. My son is a professional game designer. If any of you play the game Witcher, he's one of the writers of the Witcher game, right? But in that game, you have characters, you have environments, you have interactions, and so on. You can create learning games, learning software where, in fact, you have online teachers that are AIs that engage with you. And we're already beginning to see in our own training at Salesforce the necessity of applying it both to teach people about AI and actually using AI in the training itself. So what we're seeing now is an upskilling revolution of everyone actually having what I described originally, a personal AI tutor. And we're moving to that in Salesforce for ourselves and for our customers. One of the places where they've seen that rather dramatically is in the military. Not surprising. This is not a new idea for the military. They've been doing simulations of this sort for a very long time. And what we're now seeing is that the AIs are raising the capability in those simulations, both in the military and in the civilian world. So that becomes another key dimension. Now, finally, what do you have as a job? I think what you do is you help people reconnect, find new jobs, figure out what they need to do, help prepare for interviews, negotiate for them. Well, it's not at all implausible that all of you will have an AI assistant that enables you to serve your customers, the people you serve, much better. It is not at all implausible that a negotiating AI will help do the first negotiation. It's not at all implausible that it will help prepare a worker for an interview for a new job. It's not at all implausible that it will search more widely for new job potentials. So I believe this industry is one of those places where we're going to see a significant application of AI in the immediate future. It will, frankly, enrich what you do, make you more productive, make the people you serve more capable, and enable you to serve at a higher level. So we think this is a huge implication. Now, there are many other possibilities. I won't go into all of these, but engineering, prototyping, language translation. I am a little multilingual. I was born abroad, but, I travel a lot in Asia. My Japanese does not exist. I sure would like to have an AI translator that could help me travel in Japan. Well, now I can. I'm a real Japanophile. I love, as my wife does, we love going there. Imagine AI tools that can deal with culture, that can understand cultures very broadly and help sustain and raise those cultures both in society and in organizations. And then finally, helping AI and using AIs in coaching for leadership, right? I have one of my senior team is a really great guy, but he needed some coaching. Well, we brought in an outside coach. Well, now he has an AI coach that helps him. He can ask questions. How do I handle a difficult personnel situation? How do I deal with setting goals for my team, and so on? And so we're already beginning to see those class of applications. So what I think is that we're in this fundamental revolution. We've not seen anything happen this fast. Cell phones took literally 15 years to get to 100 million users. ChatGPT took 2 months. We've never seen anything like this. This is a discontinuous revolution of enormous proportions. The world is going to be very different 5 years from now as a result. Now, I think it's going to be a much better place, a more capable place, a more peaceful place, a more productive place, and that people have vastly more opportunities as a result of AI. Thank you very much.